Namaste friends, this is Mudra. In this video, I shall be sharing my perspective on a definition of yoga taken from the Bhagwad Gita, chapter number 6, verse number 23. The definition is Dukha Samyoga, viyogam, yoga sangitam. Now, our ancient texts have given us a lot of definitions of yoga which bring out its essence very beautifully. Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Samatvam yoga uchyate, yoga samadhi, to name a few. Now, for me, this is one definition that stands out for a lot of reasons. One reason is that I find this particular definition to be very sharp in pinpointing exactly what the scourge of the human race is, not to mention that it is one of the least spoken about definitions of yoga. So I've used a very strong word over here that this definition points out exactly what the scourge of the human race is. Now, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by the scourge of the human race? Now, as a human race, we've evolved in such a manner that we've developed unknowingly a very strong affinity, a very strong identification, a very strong attachment to our suffering, to our sorrows, to our despair. So much so that it is our suffering that has become the fulcrum of our existence, unfortunately. It is our despair, our grief that occupies the center stage in our life, and everything else pales in comparison. Now, why is that? Now, let us try and understand the rationale behind it. What is it that has led to the cultivation and development of such a mindset? So here I'll be speaking a little from the socio-cultural point of view. So if we were to have a look or understand the socio-cultural ethos of our country, India, we will realize that we have been taught to be very temperate in the display of our happiness. In fact, we've been taught to be happy in a very understated way. It has been ingrained into our psyche to not be very explicit in the expression of our happiness. Even if there is somebody who's praising us for our work or for that matter anything else, we are taught to respond in a very temperate, almost in a very somber manner. Instead of being very grateful to the person who's taken time out of his or her life and appreciating some aspect of your life, we are taught to be very somber, and we are taught to be very sedate in reciprocating the same praise or the same appreciation. Now, why is that? Why is it that it is looked down upon if we speak about our happiness? Why is it that we are taught to be happy only in an understated manner? Perhaps people fear being labeled as immodest, perhaps from the fear of being called arrogant or high-handed or something like that, or perhaps from the fear of being regarded as somebody who disregards the divine grace, as being regarded as somebody who disapproves of the supreme or the highest will, or perhaps being regarded as somebody who's very brash and very immodest in temperament, or perhaps from the fear of attracting some sordid evil eye. So there can be, numerous reasons why culturally we've developed to downplay our happiness. Now, at the same time, the same culture doesn't quite teach us to undermine or downplay our sorrows and griefs. I've seen people go at length speaking about what pains them, what makes them suffer, speaking at length about their sorrows, their despair unapologetically. All they need is an ear willing to listen, and they can go on and on and on, and there's no end to it. And there is no judgment that is passed there. Now, at the same time, if there's somebody who's displaying his or her happiness, immediately the person is labeled, the person is judged. But not so when it comes to a person who's ranting or maybe sharing, if I were to use a very somber term over here, somebody who's speaking about their sufferings, their sorrows. No, they are free to go on and on and on. So what that has led to is an identification with suffering. Identification with our suffering to that extent that we become the suffering. It is as if there is nothing more to us than our sorrow, than our suffering. So here all of us are perpetually in the state of Dukha Samyoga, such a strong attachment, such a strong bond with our suffering. Now here, if I were to speak about somebody who's dealing with anxiety, somebody who's dealing with OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder, which is definitely not a very happy place to be. In fact, it is the most dastardly of existences that one can have. So what is happening over here? So these are the people who've latched on so strongly to their fears, to their worries, to their frustration, that they cannot think of anything else. Everything else in their life is overshadowed by their attachment to their suffering. So much so that they keep replaying the same scenarios in their head 24/7. And when this is happening, the result is that you've given so much of energy to this negativity that now this negativity has snowballed into something that is so humongous, and it has snowballed into something that is far removed from reality. The problem perhaps was just this small, but by constantly talking about it, by constantly replaying it in your head, you have made it so big that it is not even real anymore, and you go on talking about it. So are you now talking about your problem? Are you now talking about your sorrow? No. You're simply projecting your own insecurities. You're simply projecting your own fears. Yes, this is what is happening. And in turn, what this is leading to is a strong negative bias in the brain. Our neural networks are getting reprogrammed into negativity. And to break these patterns of negative thinking, to break these neural patterns is extremely difficult. So now certain patterns have been established in the brain. It will take all your grit, all your determination to go beyond them. And this is what this particular definition of yoga is telling us to do for a better life, for a better existence. So what we definitely need to do and we should be working at is Dukha Samyoga, viyogam. We need to break free from the shackles of attachment to our suffering. We need to break free or sever the ties that we have developed to our suffering. It is only then that the light will shine through the broken corners of our heart. It is only then that we shall be moving towards health and healing. It is only then that our soul will get an opportunity to manifest its real nature. It is only then that we will be surely moving from pessimism to optimism. It is only then that our lives will once again start being more meaningful, more positive, with better and better interpersonal relations. So what we need to do over here is to become aware of our attachment to our despair, to our suffering, and with awareness, with determination, take concrete steps to break this attachment to our suffering. Instead of focusing on the negative aspects of our lives, why not focus on the positives? Well, our brain has a negativity bias for sure. So even if 10 good things have been said to you and one bad thing has been said to you, we have a tendency to latch onto the one bad thing because of the negativity bias that our brains have. So it is very important to be mindful and not keep on talking about the negatives, not keep on talking about the sorrows, because after a point of time, you made it so big that it is not even real anymore. Let us talk about what makes us happy. Let us not be happy in an understated way as our socio-cultural ethos have imposed upon us. Let us share our happiness with others and let this happiness grow. Let us now get closer and closer, at least make an attempt to move towards our real nature, which is of Ananda, which is of bliss. Now come to think of it, why is it that so many problems have crept up in our lives? Now the reason is, simply put, separation. We are all the time seeing individuals, seeing human beings as separate entities. We are all the time focused on highlighting differences between I and you, differences between we and they. Instead of focusing on things that unite us, we are all the time focusing on the differentiating factors. Rather than looking for uniting factors, cohesive factors, we are all the time looking for divisive factors. Now, what has that given rise to? This kind of a tendency has only enhanced the ego in us. These kind of tendencies to look for factors which are divisive in nature have only led to the growth of fear, have led to the growth of insecurities, have led to malicious tendencies, have led to manipulations of various kinds. So much so that we go on and on existing with so much of insecurity that we even forget to live our lives. We forget and are far removed from the real purpose of our life and existence. So let us take a pledge to break away from this attachment to suffering. Dukha Samyoga, viyoga is what we need to strive for. It is only then that we will try and understand that each human being existing on the planet is nothing but the microcosm of the supreme divinity. It is then that we will see each and every individual as being a divine creature. It is only then that we'll start living out the purpose of our existence. It is only then that our lives will be so meaningful, and we will then be witness to a magical transformation unfolding. So my friends, let us make this pledge to be happy, to express our happiness, to express our gratitude. In our life, there is nothing that we can really call our own. Whatever that we are blessed with, whatever that we've achieved in our life, it is all due to the divine grace. It is what the divinity has willed for us. There's nothing that you can call your own. At the same time, we are still living a material life. So let us be happy about the things that we've achieved in life. Let us be open to sharing this happiness with our family members and also with others. Let us look at things positively. Let us look for the good in others. Let us strengthen the goodness and let us strengthen the positive aspects rather than strengthening the negatives. Rather than giving power to the despair and giving power to the grief, let us give this power to happiness. Let us give this power to positivity. Let us be conscious and aware each and every moment of our existence to transform our lives, to lead a meaningful and purposeful life. So this, according to me, is the essence of this definition: Dukha Samyoga viyogam yoga sangitam. And it is through the path of meditation that we can slowly move towards our real nature, which is that of bliss, which is that of infinite ananda. So this was from my side today, my very unique perspective on the definition from Bhagwad Gita, chapter number 6, verse number 23. Feel free to share your comments, and so much for now. I shall be back again. Namaste.